Heyo, dog owners out there in YouTube land. I'm Ty the Dog Guy. Welcome to this video. This is maybe one of the most important videos you could watch if you're dealing with some dog aggression. So make sure that you're watching all the way to the end. I'm going to share with you a method that we call step back recall that nobody else is doing. And I know nobody else is doing because we invented it. And I know we invented it because it was an accident and it happened over 10 years ago with a client of ours, and I explained the whole thing in the video and show you exactly how to do it. But this video is part of a 10-part training series, and if you don't have the whole training series, it's not going to be as much benefit to you. Now make sure you watch the whole video through, but also make sure you go down in the description underneath this video and click on the link, and you're going to be able to grab the full 10-part training series. And like I said, you're going to need part of that in order to build up to this point. Watch this whole video so you can see what we're doing, but you're gonna need the rest of it, so make sure that you go grab that. But like I said, you're gonna learn today our step back recall method. It's one of the most powerful things, combined with some of the other stuff we do with obedience and structure. Whoops. Combined with some of that, thank you, is one of the most powerful things that you can do if you're dealing with aggression. Aggressive behavior, you're trying to calm down an aggressive dog. This could be doorbell aggression, aggression while you're on walks, aggression towards dogs, aggression towards people. We even use this for resource guarding, like food aggression and stuff like that. So this technique, combined with a bunch of the other stuff that we do, is really what put us on the map and made us one of the most requested companies in the entire United States and even outside of the United States for dealing with dog aggression. So did I hype it enough? Really hypey, I know, but it is that important. It's a very important video. So make sure you watch to the end and make sure you grab the entire 10-part course. All right, guys, I want to explain a technique to you. This is one of the most powerful techniques that I've ever come across for helping dogs work through aggression. I don't know any other trainers outside of our company that's doing this, and it's, like I say, it's super powerful. So I want to share it with you, and then I'm going to show you how to do it with your dog. So the technique is something that we call step back recall. And I always tell the story of how we accidentally stumbled upon this technique because it really illustrates a good point. So many years ago, it was 10, 11 years ago, I was working with a dog, and it was a big dog. It was a 160-pound Mastiff or something like that, just a big, big Mastiff. And she was aggressive. She was not just like barky barky. She wanted to attack everything, everything. Every man, woman, child, dog, cat, person on a bike, skateboard, doesn't matter. If it was living and if it was in her neighborhood, she was going after it, and she had some real intent. And to top it off, the owner, she was a smaller woman, and so it was a really, the dog was probably close to twice her size, if not more, and so it was a really hard dynamic to work with. Of here's this powerful, large, aggressive dog with an owner that was just, on the smaller side, and so it actually took a full session before I could get near the dog. Because that first session I sat in her living room and the dog was clawing at the door for 30 minutes trying to come eat me. And so it took even a bit for me to be able to handle the dog. But once I could handle the dog, I'm a big, strong guy, and I was able to get the dog, using a prong collar. I was able to get the dog to walk well on a leash. She couldn't. The dog was just too strong. So anyways, we decided to use an e-collar, an electric collar. I've got the remote right here. And so at the time, the prevailing wisdom in the dog training community was don't use the e-collar for aggression because it'll make the aggression worse. And you know what? They were totally right. The dog training community was right, because if you've got a dog who's like rah, 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 and you start hitting them with this, most dogs get even like more angry and like rah, 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 they're furious. And so, but I knew that there had to be a way to do it. So we started testing something. And so what would happen is we would be walking down the street, and by this time the dog was at least walking well. We taught her to heel. The dog would see something up ahead. I call it an aggression trigger. Let's say it was just another dog, just for the sake of saying something. And so she sees another dog up ahead, and she would start what I call the aggression snowball. So the aggression snowball is, for some dogs, it's like a quick second. For other dogs, it's 10 seconds, 15 seconds. But what it is, with her, if the dog was far enough away, I don't remember exactly, this was 10, 11 years ago, but she would pause, she would puff up, the fur would go up, and if the dog got a little bit closer, bark, 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 she's lunging. So it was probably a few seconds. So what we would do is we would, as the dog was getting, as we were walking the dog down the street, and we would see, you know, the trigger coming close, or we were coming close to the trigger before she had the chance, before the dog had the chance to even get all triggered up and crazy. We would step back, call the dog here, and of course she didn't want to come, so we would use some stimulation from the e-collar. She would come, she would turn right back around, and we would call her again with some stimulation. She would turn right back around and call her again with some stimulation. And if you don't know how to do that, there's another video in this series that you should have watched that teaches you exactly how to do that. But it was over and over and over. We recalled the dog, recalled the dog, recalled the dog. And it probably took 10 or 15 times in order for the dog to finally calm down. Now, I didn't know what this was going to do. We were just testing. But she starts working on this, and I come back a few weeks later, and now it takes 2 or 3 or 4 corrections. But then the dog will come. So it was improving. It was from 10 to 15 down to 2, 3, or 4. Fast forward another few weeks, now it's maybe 1 or 2 corrections. Fast forward another little bit, and now we're walking down the street. Here comes a trigger, and the dog just looks at her owner. Here comes a bike, she looks at her owner. Here comes a person, looks at her owner. Because what had happened was, the dog's emotional state would, you know, get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? You know, she would get frustrated, and she would, you know, she would see something and get bigger. So what we did is we basically paired her emotional state. We said, every time you start feeling that way, I'm back here calling you. Every time you feel that way, I'm back here calling you. Not just calling you, but reinforcing it. Now, when we caught the snowball when it was the smallest, we didn't have to use much stimulation at all. So it was a very humane way to get this done. And it was a very humane way to teach the dog to focus on the owner rather than to focus on the trigger. Because that's where the dog was going wrong, right? She was feeling so stressed about that thing. And what we did is we reversed it and said, you don't have to stress about things, you can pay attention to me. And we walk on past and everything's good. And you don't have to stress, pay attention to me, no stress, pay attention to me. So what happened was the dog would be like, I'm feeling a little bit stressed, where's mom? And so we essentially, the dog started self-regulating as time went on, because she started realizing, hey, if I'm feeling nervous, mom's back there calling me, I'd better just, you know, pay attention. And so in the act of doing that, she got so good. In fact, I still remember in our first session, the dog's clawing at the door, and she's like, I just want to take my dog to the farmer's market, because she lived right on the same street as the farmer's market. And I'm like, I don't know, like this dog's trying to kill everybody. I don't know. But in our last session, we went to the farmer's market. The dog did great, ignored everybody, listened to us, paid attention, and did fantastic, all because of all the obedience and structure, plus this method of the step back recall. So I'm going to share with you right now how we actually do that step back recall. Hey guys, I just wanted to give you one more way to use this that kind of occurred to me afterwards, after doing the training video, and I was like, oh, I better include this. Because most of what we're talking about here is using this technique to stop aggression. And frankly, that's this technique is one of the things that really put us on the map and really changed the whole projection, the whole course of our business, and got people all over the world to hire us. This technique is powerful. Like, it helps stop aggression unlike anything else. So, I mean, we love it, but we've actually come to realize over the years that a lot of dogs can use this that have no aggression, but they're really bad at greetings. So they see people or they see dogs and they get so crazy excited that their greetings are bad. They're barking, or they're just pulling, or, you know, or the doorbell rings and they're just like so excited. They're not even territorial, they're just like excited. Those types of dogs do really, really well with this step back recall method. So if you've got that dog, then I would definitely consider using this method for that. All right, so I'm going to show you how to actually do this step back recall. So the critical thing is, before the dog is triggered, if the dog is already like freaking out and barking and going nuts, you waited too long. So it's before the dog is triggered. So even if your dog has dog aggression, the second your dog notices another dog, start doing this. So what we've got to do, it's all got to be one swift, quick motion. And it looks easy until you actually start doing it. It takes a little bit of practice. And so let's say, you know, the dog was distracted over there. Here, good boy, good. So what I'm doing is I am giving a free command. Again, if you haven't watched the training on how to do the recall, we always give a free command. But with the step back recall, we go a little bit more demanding. So on that second here, I'm already holding on the stimulation. So if I was just practicing recall in my backyard, I would be like, here. And if the dog doesn't come in a second and a half, I'll give a little bit of a correction here. In this one, it's like consecutive, here, here, and I'm already giving a little bit of stimulation on that one. So if my dog loses focus, here, here, oh, good boy. Now the second he comes, I'm going to release the button, and I'm gonna offer the treat. Here, here, oh, good boy. So now as I'm doing this, with the step back recall, it's important that you do this after having taught the dog the recall, because I don't wanna be pulling on the leash. If I'm pulling on the leash, if you're doing the step back recall, so your dog's trying to get to that dog, person, whatever, or is at least thinking about that dog, person, and I'm pulling on the leash, any leash pressure is gonna create frustration. Frustration is gonna create even bigger aggression. So we don't wanna do that. So every time I do it, here, here, oh, good boy. I'm using kind of my body language. I'm kind of drawing the dog in, and I'm not pulling on that leash. The only time I would ever pull on that leash is if it was like a dangerous situation where we're kind of in close quarters and I gotta get my dog away from whatever that thing is over there. That's the only time I might pull on the leash. Outside of that, I wanna make sure that every single time I'm doing this step back recall, I'm stepping back quick at the beginning of the dog's snowball, aggression snowball. I'm giving one free command, but it's followed very fast by a second one with, you know, some low level stimulation. The dog comes, there's some food. And if the dog turns back around, I'm gonna do it again. If the dog turns back around, I'm gonna do it again. And I'm gonna keep doing this until the distraction is past or the focus is mostly on me. It might take 10 or 20 times, but with repetition, it'll get down to 5 or 10. With repetition, it'll get down to 2 or 3 or 4. And so that's how, like I say, if you can do the step back recall, you're gonna find your dog, you know, within a few weeks typically, focusing way more on you versus the stuff that right now is making them aggressive. Now, this method doesn't live very well alone. So if you're trying to jump to do just this method and you're not doing all the other stuff in this series with, you know, teaching the recall, teaching good leash walking, you know, teaching stay behaviors, things like that, you're not gonna have a lot of success. This method works best when you've done your groundwork and then you start doing the step back recall. So if several weeks of groundwork, then the step back recall for several weeks, and this is a very clear formula that we have for getting, we've had thousands of dogs now work through aggression. So let's see you get to it. All right, guys, I have literally shared this or used this training with thousands of dogs all across the world. This is one of the things that put us on the map. This is one of the things that people have literally paid to fly me around the world to teach this type of training to them, because this step back recall is that powerful. If you need help with it, reach out to us. And then at the same time, make sure to get the full 10-day training course that I'm giving away for free. All you have to do is, if you're watching this on YouTube, is go down to the description section underneath the video, grab the, click on the link in there, and you'll be able to get the entire 10-day training course totally free. So go do that, and I'll see you on the other training.